brand new, so I don't have a ton to say, but I'm still here, so I love it already. I come from the Core Shopping Center, so I saw Leah. I used to work with Ryan quite a bit, so I'm sure I'll recognize some other faces, but I am joining the web project management side of things, so any of your website needs, I'll be your gal.
Awesome. Yeah, we are super excited to have you, Karen, so thank you. And next up, the lovely Marzena. I'm excited about this one. Take it away. Tell us all about reporting.
All about reporting. Hi, everyone. Great to see you on our webinar today. I'm just going to share my screen. And yeah, so reporting the CIPR, it's been actually a lot of fun compiling this and putting it all together over the last few months to standardize how we report and show our accountability to you guys. So we pretty much navigate your business with your data. That's pretty much what I do every month. And then I meet with the team and we kind of move forward and go on from there. Okay. So if you're familiar with CIPR, you are aware that we are a strategy first approach, which means before we advise you on anything to do with marketing, we want to take a deep dive into your business, your vertical, your competition, and then we get together and build out a plan from there. The part of reporting is pretty much a continuation of that. So then every month we look at what's happened and then we keep building to your strategy based on the data that we see on what we've done. Oh, hold on. Of course, I'm having technical issues. Okay, so why do we report? Traditional marketing is very different from digital marketing in terms of the information that we can harvest. So digital lets us have a plethora of information that we never had before. So it allows us to see in real time and it enables us to make decisions quickly based on problems, things that didn't go right that we thought we would, so we can change quickly. It showcases also gaps or opportunities where we can pivot and direct your marketing and get leads for you and capture business for you. It guides our strategy, it plans our next steps. So it's essentially just giving us information that we need that we never had before. What do we report on? We report on what we do for you. And that's going to be different for every single client because some clients we do many different kinds of marketing communication, marketing tactics. Other ones we do more simple things. So whether we do SEO, social media, email marketing, public relations, whatever it is that we do for you, that's the information we gather together for you in a report in one condensed version. This is also where your goals, the things that you want to achieve every month, we communicate together and then we report back on, did we reach those goals? Did we fall short? What can we do to help you get there? Who do we report to? You? Sorry, to report to. The obvious answer is to you. We report to our clients. However, we also report to our team in the sense that we meet and we talk about what happened on your specific, in your month, and then that guides us going forward. So the reports I prepare are double-sided for you primarily, but also for us internally. When do we report? So we wait for the month to finish and then the data trickles in. And my goal is to have reports sent back to all the clients by mid-month, the following month. That is the way it's planned out to be. But also we work with you individually. Some clients have asked, we get them reports almost immediately at the beginning of the month for their internal needs. So it can be very client specific. Also, some clients have asked us to do a report mid-month is fine, but then we meet together quarterly and do a deep dive into the data on Google Analytics. So there's lots of options there that are best suited for you. And then how do you report? So we collect the data. So all the vendors and parties that we work with, we collect the data at the beginning of the month. We analyze it as a team. I meet with your project manager to talk about what happened, what some problems were, what some goals were, and analyze that together. I then compile a report and send it to you. And then we can also meet to review the report after you receive it. And this is what it looks like now. So this is just giving you kind of a, this is a sample report. Obviously your name would be at the top. And this particular one, this fake client has SEO with us, social media, a newsletter, and a LinkedIn campaign. The first thing you'll see is a report or a little statement from your project manager. So it'll be a photo of either one of us, and we'll be adding Karen's images in there too, and then a blurb, a comment, a summary of what happened last month. I will then compare your Google Analytics. The first things that we look at is your Google Analytics in terms of traffic to your site. So I'll always reference previous month with current month, and we'll kind of analyze what happened to your site, because that is really the fundamental thing we're watching, is how your website was affected by all the different marketing that we are doing for you. There will be summaries based on this particular one. We're talking about SEO. So I will give you a detailed list of what happened, what URLs we're watching in the previous month. And then on the right, I'll always talk about next tasks, what we're going to be planning on doing, what URLs we're targeting, and what the steps will be. This is just an example of a newsletter. So this is just showing you what we would say for if we were doing newsletters with you. And then same thing, what we've done, what we're doing. I will give you summaries from your actual activities. So in this particular case, this is a screen capture from what happened in your newsletter campaign, and also with some notes about what's happening there. Some clients have asked for a glossary of terms based on, just to help them define what some of the things mean. And this is totally customizable. Not all clients have asked for this, some clients have. So this is just an example of, we can really make it customized to you and your needs and your understanding. For social media, for example, we will compile what happened on all your platforms. So if it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, we will show in data. And then here under these posts, we'll show you your most engaged post and then your least engaged post. Going forward, I'm actually going to be also including the previous month, because I've been doing just current month, but I'm going to be showing you also previous month. So you kind of have a better comparison of how last month compares to current month. Then a blurb about social media. For LinkedIn, let's say we did LinkedIn with you, I would give you stats on how your LinkedIn reports go and your campaigns. And actually that brings me to the end of it. That's actually very quick. TPS reports are a joke, obviously, about reporting, but if there's any questions that you have about reporting, feel free to ask me.
Marzena, I saw one question pop up just around goal setting. So how are we setting goals? How do we communicate with clients on that piece? Yeah, walk us through that.
Goal setting is, so we'll talk with you and you can tell us, I'm looking for, my big thing is increasing traffic on my site, or I want a certain action on my site as a conversion to increase month over month. So what we'll do there is actually in your analytics, we will take that URL for where that goal happens and include it in your analytics. And then we'll watch that month to month to see how many times that's changed, how often that's changing and what's going on there. So it's completely client specific based on your goal. So it could be a specific download of a file, a call to you, a form fill, whatever your goal is, or a newsletter sign up. We discuss with you and discuss what your KPIs are, and then we put that into your analytics and start measuring from there.
Awesome. Yeah, what I love from this reporting piece, and anyone from our team jump in, is just that transparency that this creates. I mean, I think sometimes it is human nature to go, ooh, this month wasn't as good as last month. Or, I feel like sometimes you can hide behind data and numbers. I remember a client from a few years back just kept being so excited about, tens of thousands of followers on a Facebook page. But as we dug into the reporting and analytics, we realized that all those people weren't necessarily their target audience or great leads or actually driving towards business goals. So I love the fact that in current clients, you'll know this, we come alongside you annually, learn about your business goals, if they've changed, if they've stayed the same. And now, too, from a reporting perspective, we're having that conversation internally. So, Marzena takes all my clients and brings them back to me and has that conversation about, okay, what were the goals for this client? Are the metrics kind of lining up and pushing us in that direction? What can we change to ensure we continue to go down that direction, or what do we need to adjust?
Yeah, no, the beauty of it is it's very dynamic and very quick to pivot. We had a client where we were doing PPC, so paid advertising on Google. And then 1 month showed us, actually after 2 consecutive months, we saw that the numbers were not where we wanted them to be. So then we talked internally and we pivoted to split the campaign between a Facebook campaign and also a Google search campaign. And then the numbers started to really come in. So that's the beauty of it. We can change so fast to try to get the goals that you need. So
totally. I love that. And I think a reminder for everyone, I think reporting is sometimes so complicated and over our heads. And so I want to encourage any client on the call to remember to call Marzena, I guess email you or call you. When you see that report come into your inbox and you don't understand it, Marzena, you've been having great conversations with clients, some monthly, you review it monthly with them, some quarterly. So we're here to kind of sit and go through that with you so you feel like you understand.
Yeah, Google Analytics can be very overwhelming. And I've taken the time with several clients now just to deep dive into what each of the different components of analytics is, because it helps them understand what we're looking at. And then it actually helps them kind of fine tune their goals, because then they can see what actually information is out there that they can get. So I'm more than happy to sit down with anyone and do that monthly call, that quarterly call, whatever it is, on top of these reports.
And just on top of that, if I can jump in, I know we have some or most clients, some clients on Google Data Studio now, and we're moving to try to get all of our clients onto Google Data Studio as well, which is really a data stack that goes on top of your regular analytics. It allows us to sort of customize reporting in various different ways. So I think that'll be kind of the next few months of trying to transition more and more people over to Data Studio. And back to that question on goal tracking, in Data Studio specifically, we can actually track very specific goals right in that report, in addition to some of the other things that Marzena just talked about.
It's overwhelming what you can actually harvest and get out. But it's interesting too. It's super interesting to see what's going on.
Marzena, I also know that you've been customizing reports based on client needs. So I know there's a few clients where, they have some specific things they need to report on internally. And so you're making sure you're pulling that out. But I guess, again, the invitation, if you're seeing those reports in your inbox and you feel like there's something missing or you want to go deeper, they can just shoot you a note.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you want to have more and more information, we had a specific client recently who they're also quite savvy in that realm. So they wanted more. And so we went internally and met with our partners to get more information. And then that's become their standard report, a lot more granular information that they were seeking. So it's fully customizable.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I feel like we can move on to public relations, but what I will say about reporting is I'm super excited about where we're going as an agency in terms of reporting. I think I challenge everyone kind of listening to this. If you haven't had your eyes on reporting, whether you are one of our clients or not, try to wrap your hands around it. I think, it does wonders to kind of understand your numbers when it comes to building your own marketing strategy. And if you ever have questions about potentially what your reports do mean that aren't necessarily CIPR reports, or what your Google Analytics are telling you and you don't understand, I think either Peter or Marzena are fabulous people to reach out to, and we can help you to debunk some of that and see if your agency or your team or whoever is delivering what you need to get those goals accomplished. But Peter, I'll pass it over to you for public relations.
Perfect, thank you. And before we actually get into public relations, I wanted to just sort of maybe share one more piece of information, which is kind of related to reporting in the sense that we sort of have now articulated a clear mission and vision for CIPR communications. And so I wanted to just take an opportunity to share that. So our mission is to provide transparent marketing and communications with clear results. And so that really speaks to what the work Marzena is doing on the reporting side. And it's really, really important for us to be transparent, and reporting is really key to that. And then our vision is to become the agency, or to be the agency that you can't wait to tell the world about. And so obviously we want to wow you with everything we do, and reporting, again, is a major part of that. So I just wanted to share that little update. Next, I'm going to get into the public relations presentation. So let me just pull it up on my screen here. Share my screen.
Everyone's nervous when Peter's going to share his screen.
You never know what's going to come out of my mouth, right?
Oh, we're nervous, Peter. We're nervous.
All right. So basically, I mean, the reason we wanted to talk about PR today is because this has been... Sorry.
You're sharing your notes.
Okay.
Flip your screens on us here. See, I said it, and then it came true.
Is that better?
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So the reason we wanted to take some time to talk about PR today is because really we've been talking about this topic internally for the better part of the last few months because we've noticed some significant changes. So what I'll say is that the world of PR has been going through changes over the last 10 years. And so it's been sort of a slow death of an industry to some extent, or a slow evolution of an industry. And then really when COVID hit, I mean, it was a complete slaughter of the industry. And really the last 12 months has literally shifted everything. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about what that means and how it's kind of changed our approach in terms of how we do PR for our clients as well. So obviously, our goal is to help you build predictable PR and reputation management programs. And really, as mentioned before, it's using a strategy first approach. So, and I wanted to kind of have that sentence in there because gone are the days at CIPR Communications when somebody comes to us and just says, "Hey, I want to issue a press release." Go, one off. We're just not going to do that anymore. And the reason we're not going to do that is just because it does not work. And so it needs to be part of a broader, robust strategy, a broader engagement with multi-dimensions in order to be something that's actually going to work for our clients. Because the last thing we want to do is take you on, do something that's going to underwhelm you and then leave you disappointed. So the media today really is, as I mentioned, it's been a changing landscape for a while, and it's becoming more and more competitive to get stories in the media. Very, very difficult. The reporters, honestly, like I want to say in the last 3 months, many of the better, like the reporters that we kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis, the ones we have great relationships, the ones we've known between Christina and I and Brad and I for 20 years are like leaving the industry in massive numbers. And a lot of them are leaving the industry not to leave the industry. They're leaving the industry to go into more new paid channels. And so, I'm going to pick on our friend Mario Tanaguzzi, who was a sort of a reporter for the Calgary Herald, 30 years, long time, great guy. Now he's over at YYC Business, which is a sort of a publication or a media channel that's more of a paid media channel. They do video type of stuff, and so that's just one example. There's many examples of reporters kind of leaving that traditional media world and going into a different type of world where it's really a paid first kind of approach now. So getting earned media is very, very difficult. And so now you got these folks that are called digital editors, which are basically people who have skills as cameraman, editors. They do audio, video, plus they're reporters, plus they're tweeting. I mean, they're doing everything. It's crazy. So their jobs are really intense, really insane. And you basically, if you're going to succeed in PR today, you need to do everything possible to give those people everything they need to do their jobs as easily as possible. Otherwise, they're just not going to be able to do it for you. And then finally, I mean, really major stories are just like, if it's not like, if your story isn't COVID or somehow related to COVID in the last 12 months, it's been a tough go getting earned media. It's really been difficult. So you really got to get creative about how you position your stories, and stories about, hey, new company just formed or company just acquired another company are really tough to get earned media for these days. Those stories that even 12 months ago we were able to get earned media for our clients, really difficult. So what does the media need today? First of all, number one is effective targeting. So you need to make sure that your pitch that you provide to the media person that you're pitching to is targeted effectively, and you get one shot. If you kind of screw it up and you start to burn bridges, burn relationships, you're going to really have a hard time afterwards. Be responsive. Like this is, I'm going to just say it, my biggest pet peeve with clients sometimes is like, it's a lot of money and effort going into issuing a press release, and then the CEOs decided to take a vacation that day, not available for interviews. It's not on. And you want to make sure you never get an earned media piece again. Don't be available for interviews when you issue a press release. It's just that blunt. That's who I am. I'm not going to sugarcoat it in any other way. So we're starting to ask those questions because we've had those situations before where the person who's in the press release isn't available. And we're just not going to issue you a press release because you know what? It's not good for you. It's not good for us, and it's not good for the media. So it's just sort of a net negative kind of thing. You need a great story. So again, the stories that even 12 months ago you might be able to get an earned media piece for, you're just not going to get it anymore. Your story needs to be relevant to what's going on in the world, relevant to what that media person cares about. It needs to be topical. It needs to sort of, you need to get creative to make sure your story actually is something that people are going to care about. And it needs to be relevant to a lot of people. So this is kind of the thing, like a lot of people, obviously your story is relevant to you. It's relevant to your company, it's relevant to your shareholders. It may not be relevant to the rest of the world, really. I mean, I hate to be that blunt again, but now if you're an industry, if you're trying to pitch to an industry publication, it may be relevant to the industry that you're pitching to. So again, that's where that targeting comes in. The days of sort of the media just picking up a general story about a business are just gone, and so you need to make sure that you have a great story that's targeted to the right people. And then finally, you need to provide the assets. As we mentioned before, the digital editors, they need photos, they need videos, they need logos, they need it all. And you need to make their job as easy as possible to be successful in today's media landscape. So really, in terms of the CIPR approach to media relations, it's really this, three things, which is earned media, owned media, and paid media. So really, you really got to kind of focus on your own media first. So what is own media? Own media basically means your own website, your own social media channels, your own newsletter, any asset that you own and you 100% control, that's your own media. And so if you're issuing a press release, if you're putting news out there, you need to make sure that thing's on your website, and you need to make sure that you have maybe a media library or photos or videos or whatever the media needs to be able to tell your story for you. You need to make sure that basically your website has those assets available for them, and they're easy to grab and easy to use. Earned media is all about pitching stories to media and trying to get basically the media to tell your story for you. It still is possible to get earned media stories. It's just more difficult. And so you need to be really, really targeted. Your stories need to actually impact a lot of people in order for them to get the types of earned media that you used to be able to get 12 months ago, 24 months ago, and beyond. And then finally, paid media. So as I mentioned, Mario Tanaguzzi sort of moved over to where he is now. I mean, basically, you can pay and you can guarantee that you're going to get a spot on his media channel. Post Media has all kinds of paid media opportunities. So all media outlets are looking for ways to survive. And we actually did a podcast with Mario the other day, where he sort of talked about the fact that, for years and years and years, the media has been basically telling people stories for free. And you know what? The model didn't work, obviously. And so we are where we are as a result of the fact that the model didn't work. So we're actually at CIPR Communications taking a paid media strategy first approach. And we're really telling clients that they need to think about having a media budget, paid media budget, when they're going to go out and do media relations and PR to be successful. And when you're pitching media and you actually have a budget, that creates opportunities then for possible earned media, either right then and there or maybe in the future, right? You create some goodwill because you're willing to pay up front. So it's really that's really been the shift of mindset for us. And
I have a question here, and maybe Brad or Peter, you can jump in on this, but sure. Just a question around budgets for paid media. I think in the past, when especially you talk to earned media, you have this kind of wire fee, $1,000 or, give or take, depending on where it goes. But when people start to think about a paid media budget, what costs would you associate with that? Obviously it changes for every client. And I guess what does that budget go towards? Like what is that?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, paid media is a very broad word. So if I'm going to think about a paid media budget, I mean, I can throw out some rough numbers and say, you can hire a social media influencer. That is a version of paid media. You can get your story told on a paid post media, an advertorial or whatever. That's a version of paid media. You can get, so there's many, many different forms and versions of paid media. I would say you probably want to have a absolute minimum budget of probably $500. to even consider some options. But probably more realistically, you want to be probably in the $2,500 range. And, you know, if you really want to start to make an impact and a dent, in the $5,000 range. If you want to have multiple stories over time, you know, you probably get then into the $5,000-$10,000 range kind of thing, right? So it really depends on the goals that you have, you know, so it's really broad. I mean, as I mentioned kind of, I think before, is that it's really becoming a multi-channel world. And so you may want to have some money in your paid media strategy for, you know, the post media, where you're going to be featured in the Calgary Herald and whatever across the country, because that's where you want to be featured in sort of a paid media approach. But you may want to also supplement that with some social media influencers, you know, and other types of paid media approaches. So, I mean, it's really a case-by-case basis, but I, you know, it's getting more and more expensive because we have so many different channels available. It's sort of getting more and more expensive to do marketing in general. And so you need to be, you know, thinking about where you want to put that money in terms of what your goals are and how many different channels you want to be visible on. Obviously, at the beginning of your marketing strategy, it's more is more. I tell people all the time, more is more. You want more eyeballs, you got to pay more dollars. That's just the world we live in, and that's just the reality we're in. So that's my very roundabout way to not answer your question. So what is owned media? As I mentioned, this is kind of a sort of a recap, I guess, but your website, your social media, your branded assets. So do you have a media kit that you've created that you can pass on with your media story? Do you have a sort of a campaign kit that you could provide to your stakeholders, your board of directors, your staff, that they can share on their social media? Those are the types of things that you can include into branded assets, and, you know, your newsletter. So it's really up to you. And what I'll say is that what's really changed the most is companies need to be thinking about themselves as media channels as well. It's your responsibility as a company to tell your own story, and you need to figure out how you're going to do that. Does that mean having a PR team in-house that's going to be basically responsible for creating PR? Is it going to be a paid media strategy because you can't afford the in-house team? Or is it going to be you hire CIPR Communications and we'll just take care of it for you? I think that's the best approach. Earned media, obviously, so wire distribution, we kind of put that into earned media, but that could be also considered a paid media, sort of one or the other. Targeted media outreach. So, you know, when we do a press release for clients, we also then do media outreach, and we sort of, you know, pitch your media story to different journalists or blog. And that's the other thing, right? So today it's journalists, bloggers, vloggers, podcasters. It's multidimensional. It's the world is wild out there. So, you know, it's sort of, how do you want to get that story told? And you want to target yourself to the appropriate people. And the kind of interesting one that's really in here on the earned media side is reviews and testimonials. So this is probably the most important piece of PR for any business today. Getting as many testimonials, getting Google reviews, getting your Google My Business tuned up, making sure you have Facebook, you know, people commenting on your Facebook, leaving you testimonials, reviews on your Facebook. These are amazing ways to get your story told, obviously by third parties. So really, earned media is all about other people telling your story for you. And these are a few of the different ways to do that. And then finally, paid media, sponsored content, you know, digital and print ad buys. So Marzena mentioned PPC. That's also a version of paid media. Influencer content, gift guides. We've been doing great work for some of our clients recently who have like Christmas gift guides, holiday gift guides, Mother's Day gift guides, various different opportunities there, blogs, you know, various newsletter distribution channels of industry associations, things like that. So, you know, I think if I'm going to leave you with one impression from this entire presentation, is that really today's world of marketing and communications is becoming one thing. And it's becoming multi-channel. So, you know, marketing, communications, you really need to be thinking about it all as kind of one approach, and then sort of figuring out which channels and how you're going to get more eyeballs onto those channels, i.e. through paid media approaches. Finally, Christina and I actually are in the process right now of recording a podcast series all about public relations. So I like this one. The title is Your News Really News? That's a great title, because a lot of people, again, companies, a year ago, what you thought was news, unfortunately, 12 months later, just isn't news anymore, because there's just not enough media out there to tell that story. So I encourage you to listen to this podcast series, in addition to just Christina and I rambling on. We're also interviewing a few current journalists, a few kind of people that have left the profession. So we're going to get a range of views on the world of PR in that series. So that is my presentation. And I will answer questions if there are any.
I think I'll just go back to that podcast piece, but I know several of you that are tuning in have been commenting on our podcast and moving that forward. I'm excited about this PR one. We've been focused on marketing for the last, I feel like, several months. But Kaylin, you feel like episode 2 on the PR launch today?
Yeah, episode 2.
Nice. So, I mean, there's some really good nuggets in there. And what has been interesting to me, as you all know, Peter and I pre-record these, but I've learned a lot about PR. I think talking to people like Mario Tanaguzzi, we talked to Jason Hewlett out of Kamloops, even just Peter and I kind of talking and back and forth. So I don't think we often have enough time to, well, maybe enough time, or do we want to be talking about PR outside of the office? But it has allowed us to really dig deep and I think differently. And I think the biggest things that I've taken away from the podcast so far, that I hope everyone who tunes in does too, is just this notion of like owned, earned, paid, and how, Peter, exactly like you said, probably you are doing PR already. And how do you really think about, you know, your program and matching a budget to it and making it more meaningful as you think about that multi-channel approach? So
yeah, and maybe I'll just also say, Christina, that I'll just use us as an example, because we just launched this podcast a few months ago. And, you know, when I make the comment of it's your job to tell your story and to be your own PR machine, really, I mean, our podcast is our ability and our way to kind of showcase our expertise, talk about topics. It is a channel that we've created, and then, you know, just use that example. So we obviously share our podcast on social media. We create a blog from the podcast that we write, which is, you know, also a channel. We use that content from the blog for our SEO strategy. We obviously use it all for our social media strategy, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So now we've taken one asset and we've sort of multi-channeled it, if you will, to get maximum reach, right? So that's a great example to me of being your own PR machine and creating your own news, I guess.
It's true. What I'll say about the podcast too, just because we have some of our lovely clients tuning in, obviously Leah from Alberta Ballet School, you were part of our last series as a bonus episode. Kaylin, you've been a star on a bonus episode. But if anyone has like a interesting story to share from a client perspective, Leah had the great kind of story around managing in-house teams and managing agencies and what that looks like. But if you're a client that's doing something interesting on the PR side that we haven't approached to be on the podcast, reach out, because we'd love to have that conversation with you too. All right, Kaylin, what's next?
Well, we do have a question and answer kind of section coming up. If anybody has any questions about, it doesn't have to be exactly what we talked about today. It can be about marketing in general, communications in general, about the team, what's coming up, anything and everything. If we have any, or if everybody just wants to go enjoy the sunshine before it snows.
You have one day. Today's your one day to enjoy the sunshine.
Oh, I see one that came in. I think this is towards the PR or marketing and communications in general. What is your overall sense of the environment moving forward? I know that this past year has been a little bit rocky, a little bit, maybe a whole bit, but what are our thoughts on that?
Sure. I can start if you want. I mean, I could, as the guy on the front lines doing sales, I can tell you right now that the feeling is one of uncertainty out there. But what I encourage people to do is have an expansive growth mindset and to have a positive attitude, because I think we're really close to coming out of this whole thing, and I think the future is friendly. But when it comes to marketing communication specifically, really it's becoming this multi-channel, and we've been kind of toying around internally with, we call ourselves a marketing and communications agency, and there's this interesting kind of concept now floating around called marketing communications, and so really the change that I'm seeing overall from a very broad perspective is that the power shift has shifted away completely from the buyer, from the seller to the buyer. So what I mean by that is in the past, people would sort of get some information online from the internet, whatever, and then they would need to basically get in touch with a salesperson fairly early in the sales process to complete the buyer's journey. And really the shift that's happening is your job as a company is to bring people through the buyer's journey using your digital assets as far as possible, because by the time they're ready to pick up the phone and talk to somebody from a sales perspective, they're 80% there. They're just kind of choosing between you and another company. So the shift has gone towards the buyer. The buyer has all the control and all the power at their fingertips. If your website's not fast enough, they'll go to their competitor's website and they'll get the information there. If you're not spelling out all of the details they're looking for, they're going to get it from your competitor and they're going to buy from them. So your job as a company is to make all of the information as available as possible. And you need to have a great customer journey, during that process, in order for your buyers to be able to make informed decisions without you, because that's really where we're at today.
Kaylin, I see an interesting question here about Instagram Reels.
Let's get reels.
Let's get reels. Should they do it? They're arguing internally about it. Maybe sounds like our team a little bit. But you have pushed us into the reel realm, the real and the real realm. Wondering kind of your answer to that question, but also you've been doing like SEO stuff on Instagram. Maybe share a bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess I'll speak to Reels first. I know everybody kind of goes back and forth with the algorithm and they're fighting with it all the time. But Instagram specifically loves it when you use the tools that they have in place. So for Reels, I don't know if anybody's on TikTok, but look at those trends that are kind of going around and which ones have made their way to Reels as well. What I will say is a question of, should you do it? Do it if you have the resources and the tools to do it. I know I've made the team do funny dances and point here and there, and it's very awkward for them, but it's great for me. But make sure that you have the manpower and the ideas coming through to make it happen, because it does work. We actually had one of our clients get some really, really, really great engagement on one of theirs, Métis Crossing, it was so good. It was so fun to see. But yeah, I think if you have the tools to do it, I think you should do it.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'll just make a general comment about what you just said there, Kaylin, in the sense that all digital channels incentivize people to use the new tools that they have available. So if you do a reel, if you're kind of on the bleeding edge of kind of, hey, Instagram has these new reels things, you're probably going to get a lot of engagement. You're going to get a lot of views. You're going to get, right, because they're trying to incentivize those new things, right? So, generally speaking, if you're going to be on a channel, my thought is try to maximize that channel and sort of use the tools that the channel has available for you.
Totally. And that also leads me to what Christina was saying about the SEO portion, is that Instagram also has guides. And I take our blog content and actually repurpose that using the posts that we have on our Instagram that kind of speak to I post every time that there's a new podcast episode. So the information that I have on the SEO side for those podcasts, I'm able to repurpose into a guide on Instagram. So it's definitely moving that way on Instagram. There's that new search engine that makes it seem like Instagram is moving towards that SEO keyword kind of stuff. So I'm really interested to see kind of how that is actually going to play out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Peter,
I see a good.
Yeah, so Peter, well, I'll moderate, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
No, you saw it too, but question around researching publications, you see it there, but I think we have a great offering here you can walk people through.
Yeah, I love this question, so thank you for it, because it's very aligned with what we've just done strategically internally, in the sense that we will do the
read the question, Peter. Nobody.
Oh, sorry. The question is, if a client doesn't have the time to research the industry publications they should be in, can CIPR do that, or do we have to come with that information? So the answer is CIPR will do that. And so we've actually kind of flipped our approach on its head a little bit. And so what we're doing now is we're actually doing, as part of our strategy first approach, is when it comes to PR and publications, we're actually doing a research first approach. So if you come to us and say, hey, we want to get media, various different ways, whatever, media attention, step one is you're going to pay for basically a opportunity, we're calling it an opportunity map. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the research for you. So that's a paid service. And we're going to come back to you and say, okay, based on the research we did, here's the opportunities for you. Might be vloggers, might be bloggers, might be podcasters, might be industry publications, whatever, right? So we're going to come back to you and say, here's what we found. In addition to what we found in terms of opportunities, we're going to say, here's some media like rate sheets and things like, here's what it might cost you from a paid media approach. So we're going to come back to you with a report that says, here's the opportunities, here's what the rates are, here's what it might cost you, here's our recommendations. And that might be all you end with. You might say, great, that's great. We're going to take that. We're going to run with it. Then from there, step two is really us then becoming your agent and us deciding together collectively based on the opportunity map, okay, let's go after these opportunities. And so then step two is us reaching out to those different opportunities and sort of pitching you and trying to kind of help to create some campaigns with those different opportunities that are going to meet your goals. And so that's where I think having us as kind of some experts that have some experience in negotiating these types of things comes in handy. So, we'll help you negotiate some great contracts. We'll help you be clear on KPIs and metrics and how performance is going to be determined. We're going to help you in terms of making sure tracking codes get implemented properly so that everything can be properly tracked, all that kind of stuff. And so that's, again, going to be its own standalone service. And then step three is campaign management. So just like we do paid search and social media advertising, it's a monthly campaign management sort of approach. So, and that approach then allows us to then work with the influencer, the media channel, whatever it is, and just make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing, making sure that the KPIs are, the metrics are coming in the way they're supposed to be doing. If there's any kind of discrepancies or disagreements, we're going to, be that person in the middle, kind of negotiating on both parties' behalfs, that kind of thing, right? So that's very different. What we used to do is just sort of go see what happens and then go from there. Now it's sort of this 3-stage approach: research, negotiation, and then campaign management. And what we've done is we've de-risked the process for you in the sense that it's less expensive at each step. But if you put all 3 steps together, it's sort of the same price as what we used to do, kind of thing, right? So, it's sort of a small fee to get started, to do the research, figure out if there's even an opportunity. So now you're not paying the full fee to sort of put it out there and find out there's not really an opportunity, kind of thing, right? So we think that this is going to serve our clients better. We think it's going to get better outcomes, and it's probably going to cost you sort of net less money, or at least net less risk. So we think that's going to be great.
Yeah, if anyone is interested, including the person who asked that question, shoot a note to us in the chat, and Peter can follow up with some more info. But it's been a great program. It's been really interesting. Obviously, we pride ourselves in strategy first, and I think this is a nice alignment to that.
I guess if I could just really quickly just throw out there also is we're kind of proud of this point, but we've become, so as many of you know, we're part of the digital marketing network called WSI, which we've been part of for a little while, and so we've actually become a supplier of PR services to the entire digital WSI network, which is something that happened last November. So what does that mean for you? It means now we're doing PR for literally thousands of agencies across the world, but mostly North America. And that means then we have more negotiating power when it comes to some of our suppliers, like wire service providers, those types of things. We have we're going to be getting new research tools coming on right away, so we can do more and better research for you. So it just really kind of gives us more to be able to do more for you. So it's sort of a good news story for us there.
Awesome.
And for you.
Marzena, I see a reporting question, an interesting one. So my agency never gives me a report on activities. How should I ask them, approach this? And can you help me read that report when I get it?
Yeah, to me, that's akin like going to your mechanic and then just driving off the lot and not finding out what they did for you. Yes, they should be giving you information on what they've done. Just very simply ask them, say, can I get an update on last month's activities or whatever it is? Just be blunt about it. And absolutely, if you're not getting the information that you need there and you're not sure how to navigate your reports, by all means, send me an email and I'll happily set some time aside to go over your stuff with you without a problem.
Yeah, we offer to, maybe Peter, I know you love jumping in, so you can.
I love to jump in. Where's my opportunity?
You love jumping in. So maybe we do an audit, right? So you have some tools that you do an audit for, maybe a quick 2 minutes there on potentially if you're looking to audit your agency, so that you can kind of come equipped in your back pocket with some good questions. Peter, what can people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our sales process is really, our research starts in the sales process. So I won't take on a client unless I've actually done some auditing and some research for them, because I need to first understand if there's even an opportunity. I'm not going to take on a client if we can't help the client, or if it's going to be too expensive to help the client. So we start all sales processes with research and audits. And really I use tools like SEMrush and Silk and a tool called Silktide. And so I can tell a lot of things with those tools. I can tell if they're doing any SEO. I recently actually had a prospect that I closed where they sort of said, hey, we hired this agency 8 months ago, and they gave us reports for 3 months, and then we haven't seen a report since, and we don't know if they've done anything. And I could very clearly tell that link building happened for 3 months and then it sort of stopped happening. And so it was very easy to show them that. I just got a tool actually onto my computer where I can now record kind of in real time. I can go through the tool, show you all the reports, record it, and give you a video. You could take that to your agency, or you could take that to your internal team. And so it's just gives you a little bit more meat on the bones in terms of, like, rather than just reading words on paper, you can see my smiling face, which is always a nice thing.
Kaylin, anything else?
I did see a question about interesting tools and trends that people should be thinking about. Peter, you kind of spoke to some cool SEO tools there, but maybe has anybody been using any other ones that they can think of?
SEO tools. So my favorite tools are definitely
SEO tools, Peter. Any tools.
Oh, any tools. Well, my favorite tool is SEMrush. It's definitely a great tool, but SEO Minion, it's basically can be added to your browser. It's just a browser add-on. It's fantastic. So you can see with SEO Minion, you can analyze every single page on your website from multiple different perspectives. Definitely Vidyard, which is the one I just told you about. It's another fantastic tool, and it just goes right onto your browser. And it's great for it's a great sales tool, actually. So with Vidyard, you can basically, basically be on your computer, be recording, and then literally it just turns it into an email that you can send off to your prospect or client or whatever. But it could be a good tool for training internally. So it's got multi kind of different dimensions to it. And then another great tool recently that I've been playing around with is, it's not going to come to me the name. I'll leave it there because I can't remember the name of the other one. Many tools.
Anyone else in the team, any tools that you've been using with clients lately? I think Bird Eye, Kaylin, is one. That's reputation management, but obviously I've noticed lately Lake City Cannabis is one of our clients. They're just getting so many reviews through Bird Eye, which is awesome. Yeah. Real like a set, not necessarily set and forget, but I feel like there's a set and little forget, which is nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that's it.
I see. No, we got Greg being a funny guy over here saying I'm getting into the logging industry. I've been doing some major clearing. So a little back, Greg's obviously following me on social media, and I'm clearing my backyard. We have a fairly nice forest in our backyard, and I'm clearing it for the American Ninja Warrior training facility for my children. So
Oh, there we go.
yeah,
And for the team too, maybe.
of course, yeah.
Oh, goodness. That looks like all the questions.
Nice. Keelan, do you want to give us some parting words as we wrap up?
Parting words, not sure if I have any of those, but hopefully next time this happens, we're in person. That'd be great. That's kind of the initial plan, but obviously things had to change a little bit. But thank you for everybody that did come today. I know it's middle of the day, it's nice outside, so thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Nice.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.